Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2020 Chairman's Awards for Advancement in Accessibility. I'm Patrick Weber, Chief of the FCC's Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau. This is the 10th year of these awards, which we affectionately call the Chairman's AAA. We're happy to have you with us today. Those of you who have attended previous Chairman's AAA ceremonies know that they're traditionally held in a ballroom with a live audience. The chairman hands the winners a fancy trophy while photographers capture the moment. But like so many other things, this year's ceremony will be different due to COVID-19. We are making use of some of the innovative communications technologies that we have all gotten to know so well over the last 6 months to host a socially distanced ceremony in front of an online audience. You've probably noticed that there are other windows around me currently displaying our ASL interpreters. Our speakers, including our 3 winners, will be appearing on screen individually to deliver their remarks during our ceremony. To keep the ASL interpreters visible, we will only have the current speaker on screen along with them. Since 2011, the Chairman's AAA has promoted innovation and accessibility by recognizing the development of technologies that improve the lives of members of the disability community. And just to mention a couple of examples of our past honorees, in 2011, one of our awardees was the LookTel Money Reader, an application to help blind and visually impaired consumers identify the denominations of their currency. And in 2016, one of our awardees was the SOS QR, which functions as a personal support app for consumers with cognitive disabilities to provide quick and easy notice to emergency contacts and display a QR code for first responders to access in an emergency. This year, the Chairman's AAA has changed its focus to recognize individuals who have contributed to the advancement of accessible communications. Those being honored today are national thought leaders whose sustained excellence throughout their careers have served to advance the cause of accessibility in telecommunications technology through policy, advocacy, and design. To tell you more about the awards and to deliver our keynote address, I'm honored to introduce a leader who has championed the use of technology to improve communications for all Americans and has ensured that people with disabilities remain a focal point of our policy work. He's the 34th chairman of the FCC, Ajit Pai. Now, unfortunately, a last-minute scheduling conflict prevents Chairman Pai from delivering his remarks live, but he was able to record his planned remarks just a short time ago, which we will share now.
Thank you for that kind introduction, Patrick, and welcome to everyone watching on the live stream of the 2020 Chairman's Awards for Advancement in Accessibility. Now, internally, we call them the AAAs. Obviously, we are not the first to use that acronym. Fortunately, Minor League Baseball, the Tiny Batteries Lobby, and America's largest auto club have graciously refrained from suing us for trademark infringement. In a first, we are holding this event online because we are still, of course, living through a once-in-a-century pandemic. While 2020 will always be remembered as the year of COVID-19, it was also a year when we celebrated 2 important anniversaries. In July, we celebrated the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA. And, as you no doubt heard on the earlier panel, today marks the 10th anniversary of the 21st Century Communications and Video Accessibility Act. Now, when thinking about how best to commemorate these anniversaries, I'm reminded of the words of the legendary civil rights champion, John Lewis. In an essay that was published upon his passing, he wrote that, and I quote, "Democracy is not a state, it is an act," unquote. Each new generation must build upon the progress made by those who have come before. The ADA and the CVAA were both landmark achievements, and we rightly celebrate their passage. But they are not the end of the story. They are just important chapters reminding us that the rest of the story remains to be told. We should and we must build upon that progress. Flowery speeches on anniversaries are nice and appropriate, but action that enables innovations that benefits individuals with disabilities is better. And for the past decade, the FCC has been working to fulfill the promise of the CBAA. And for the past 4 years, I'm proud to say that we have been able to continue this forward momentum. For example, we reformed the Internet Protocol Caption Telephone Service, or IPCTS, eliminating hundreds of millions of dollars in waste, and helping to ensure that this critical communications service remains sustainable for Americans with hearing loss who need it. We also allowed service providers to use fully automated speech recognition to produce captions as part of our IPCTS reforms. This technology reduces the delays between the time that words are spoken and the time that captions are displayed. We ensured interoperability of video relay services by incorporating technical standards and establishing an interoperability testing laboratory. We also authorized direct video communications between sign language users and customer service call centers. We also increased the amount of audio-described programming that certain broadcast stations and channels must provide to consumers. We increased accessibility to live news programming on smaller stations by hosting a forum and engaging with stakeholders of the FCC's Disability Advisory Committee to develop a disability advisory accessibility toolkit for stations. We extended hearing aid compatibility requirements for wireline phones to consumer equipment for advanced communication services, including a volume control requirement for wireless phones. At the start of the pandemic, we quickly approved waivers for telecommunications relay service providers to give them more flexibility to deal with reduced staffing and increased volumes, to enable more of their employees to provide services from their homes, and to expand the pool of contractors qualified to provide American Sign Language interpretation services. And these waivers, which we have extended several times, have helped ensure that consumers can access relay services during the pandemic. And on top of all that, we are still hard at work. Just this week, I shared with my fellow commissioners new rules to expand our audio description regulations by phasing them in for an additional 10 markets each year for the next 4 years. If adopted, our rules regarding audio described programming on broadcast stations will soon reach the country's 100 largest television markets. And 6 days from now, our Disability Advisory Committee will meet to discuss new technologies for captioning live TV programming and best practices for creating audio description, among other topics. Now, obviously, this is not a complete list of all of our activities at the FCC, but you get the point. We've been pretty busy. And when I say we, I mean the amazing staff at the FCC, starting with Diane Burstein and Bob Aldrich in our Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau. Our Disability Rights Office is filled with professionals dedicated to improving access to modern communications for the disabilities community. They also have 2 outstanding leaders, Susie Rosen-Singleton and Elliot Greenwald. Now, recognizing these talented coworkers who have made remarkable contributions to the cause of promoting accessibility is a natural segue to talking about today's AAA winners. Through these awards, we recognize individuals and companies who have brought us closer to the goal of full inclusion. From the many nominations received, we selected 3 exceptional people who have advanced the cause of accessibility in telecommunications and media in different ways. Today's winners exemplify the perseverance and commitment of individuals who truly care and have dedicated their professional careers, indeed their lives, to the advancement of accessible communications. Now, to save some suspense for Patrick Weber's presentations, I'm not going to call out by name each of the winners. But if you're watching this, you'll know who I'm talking about. Now, the only reason our first honoree has never won a AAA is because she was previously ineligible, because she worked at the FCC. Seriously, if you were to build a Mount Rushmore of legendary FCC career staff, she would be etched into that stone. She helped to write landmark legislation in support of accessibility and spent decades working on behalf of consumer organizations. She helped lead the coalition of over 300 national and regional organizations, which played a critical part in the enactment of the CVAA. She even wrote the book, and I mean literally, she wrote a book on making telecommunications services accessible for deaf and hard of hearing Americans. And for many years in the FCC's Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau, she led our policy making on accessibility matters and offered many her wise counsel, including me, for which I'm deeply grateful. Now, second, we also recognize a tireless advocate for the deaf and hard of hearing. For 23 years, he led a consumer organization that promotes equal access to telecommunications, media, and information technology for consumers across the country. For 18 years, he chaired a national coalition of consumer and professional organizations focused on promoting collaboration on public policy and legislative matters. He is a man whose stature and work has left an indelible mark on how communication services are delivered in America. He was also no stranger to the FCC, serving distinguished terms on both our Consumer Advisory Committee and Disability Advisory Committee, including service to the FCC and the American public as chair of the Disability Advisory Committee. And last but certainly not least, we recognize an industry leader extraordinaire, someone whose 30-year career has transformed the landscape of accessible technologies. He has championed and directed highly innovative and impactful technologies at Comcast and AOL. His work opened the door to enhanced access to video programming for consumers who are blind and visually impaired. He personally showed me the innovations in accessibility that he and his team were pioneering during a visit I made to Philadelphia a few years ago, a visit that still lingers with me to this day. And his work on the Disability Advisory Committee helped advance an important dialogue between industry and consumers to benefit individuals with disabilities. Now, since we cannot be together in person, let me show the awardees and our audience at home a sample of the Chairman's AAA Award. Here it is. As one might say, the award is in the mail. And with that, let me congratulate each of today's awardees and thank all of you on our live stream for joining us. I'll turn it back over to Patrick to present today's awards and simply want to congratulate everybody in this space who has worked so hard to advocate for and to succeed in promoting the goal of accessibility. Congratulations to all of you, especially today's awardees. Back to you, Patrick.
Well, thank you, Chairman Pai. Certainly the chairman sends his regrets for not being able to join us live today on our video stream. I've been with the chairman over the last 3 years, the last three Chairman's AAA Award ceremony. I know how much he looks forward to each year giving out the awards in person. So without further ado, let's go ahead and turn to the awardees. Our first 2020 Chairman's AAA Award winner certainly needs no introduction, and particularly around the FCC. Karen Peltz Strauss, her work as a telecommunications attorney and advocate has spanned decades. I, along with many of my FCC colleagues, have had the opportunity to witness her passion and dedication firsthand during her time at the agency. Her efforts on behalf of people with disabilities, specifically in the space of telecommunications access, are unparalleled. As the chairman mentioned, Karen was an instrumental contributor to numerous pieces of significant legislation that have advanced equality in telecommunications access. These include sections 255 and 305 of the Telecommunications Act of 1996, which require telecommunications access and television captioning. Title IV of the Americans with Disabilities Act, which mandates relay services. The Decoder Circuitry Act of 1990, and of course the CVAA. Karen is highly regarded by consumers, industry, legislators, and regulators, and acknowledged as a trailblazer and leader in this space. Congratulations, Karen. You can unmute your audio, and I will turn the floor over to you.
Thank you so much, Patrick, and thank you, Chairman Pai. I'm very embarrassed about that introduction, especially the part about Mount Rushmore. And thank you so much for this honor. but I believe it is I who should be giving you, the FCC, the award. For so many decades, I was lucky to have the opportunity to work with the FCC from both within and outside the agency. Your tireless and dedicated staff has truly made the virtual world accessible for people with disabilities through your policies, your outreach, and your consensus building among stakeholders, which we heard a little bit about this morning. Your commitment to the CVAA's effective implementation, whose anniversary was celebrated in the event that you just had, is just one example of your efforts to ensure that transformative technologies reach the disability community. And I'm so proud and extremely humbled to be sharing this honor today with Tom Wlodkowski and Claude Stout. I can think of few other individuals who have done more to advance disability equality. Tom, through your brilliant work in helping companies achieve accessible design, and Claude, through your unrelenting advocacy on behalf of consumers. Living with the pandemic this year has been quite challenging for all of us, but it also highlights the vital need for disability access to digital technologies. Front and center to our ability to get by has been our access to online services for our jobs, our healthcare, our news, information, and shopping. Over the past 6 months, I, and likely most of you, have participated in just about everything online: conferences, birthday parties, religious services, and even weddings and funerals. I can now add to this list receiving an award. Who could have ever imagined this? I know I couldn't, but we can all take comfort in knowing that the laws that we have worked on together have given people with disabilities the communication tools to cope with this new reality as well. We don't know how long this wholesale shift to online services will last, but we do know that the need to ensure full digital access has never taken on greater importance. New technologies like artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality promise so much to people with disabilities in terms of independence and integration, but of course, only if protections ensure that people with disabilities and aging adults are equal participants. And I'm so happy to have listened to Andrew earlier and learned about um, all the things that the industry is doing. And it's just remarkable how much the industry has done in terms of taking matters way beyond what the law had originally required. I am confident that the future will be as bright as the last 10 years have become for people with disabilities in terms of information and communication technologies. For your continued work on digital inclusion and for this wonderful honor, I give you my deepest gratitude. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen, and congratulations again. Our next winner of the 2020 Chairman's AAA is Claude Stout. Claude spent decades as the Executive Director of Telecommunications for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, TDI, effectively advocating on their behalf. His work spans technological generations, from TDI's iconic work distributing their Blue Book of TTY numbers to his efforts with the Coalition of Organizations for Accessible Technology, or COAT, to helping to develop and advocate for passage of the CVAA. Prior to his time at TDI, Claude worked on behalf of people with disabilities at the state level in North Carolina and Missouri. Throughout his career, Claude worked collaboratively with industry to achieve positive outcomes for consumers, participating in a variety of advisory groups and committees, including, as the chairman mentioned, our DAC and our CAC. He's also participated in many panels and conferences. Claude has been a stalwart ally to all, whether they be regulators, government agencies, consumers, or private businesses. Congratulations, Claude, and I will turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. And thank you, Chairman Pai, for your comments via video. And thank you so much for this. It's such an honor to receive this special recognition from the FCC, particularly as we have the utmost respect for its initiatives for disability access. It really is a huge honor for me, as I'm sure for Karen and Tom. And a huge congratulations and hands waving to both Karen and Tom as well. So now I would also like to recognize the FCC's office's profound contribution. I know the last 24 years of my career in public service, the commission has been incredibly open in involving us and including us within their meetings. I want to thank them for including us in their policy level meetings as advocates, and including us as members on the various advisory committees. I also would like to thank at this point the industry that has made every effort to design and develop accessible technology that effectively meets the needs of their customers and consumers, including those with disabilities. Working together over the years, we have come to see the benefits of universal design, and that it is a win-win outcome for all of us. So I also want to thank our friends in the business community. Thirdly, I want to thank our sister national organizations of, by, and for the deaf and hard of hearing, including those with mobility issues and our deafblind community members. They and the academic research entities that work with us have offered input and expertise.
Hi, everybody. It looks like Claude's screen has frozen. We're hoping that we can get him back online to finish his remarks. In the meantime, I think we will continue with our ceremony here, and hopefully we can reconnect with Claude so he can finish his remarks. But my congratulations again, and the chairman's congratulations again to you, Claude. We will move on to our third awardee and hopefully come back to Claude if we can reestablish a connection with him. So our final winner of this year's Chairman's AAA is Tom Wlodkowski. Tom currently serves as the Vice President of Accessibility and Multicultural Technology and Product at Comcast Corporation. But his career innovating for people with disabilities stretches well beyond his current role. Tom has contributed to advancements in accessibility for the last 30 years. Prior to joining Comcast, Tom served as the Director of Accessibility at AOL for over 10 years and also held positions at the WGBH Media Access Group, home to the Descriptive Video Service, Caption Center, and the National Center for Accessible Media, or NCAM. He has been a tireless innovator, helping to push for increased access to video programming, broadband, and connected technologies. Notable among Tom's many accomplishments is his work overseeing the development and deployment of the Xfinity Talking Guide, a groundbreaking innovation that revolutionized access to video programming for people who are blind or visually impaired. Congratulations, Tom. Please turn on your camera and your microphone, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Thank you, Chairman Pai, for this unbelievable and incredible honor. Hard to believe I've been in this career 30 years. Truth be told, I started when I was 12. Definitely when I had hair, I know that. And I just first want to begin by recognizing my fellow awardees, Karen and Claude. It's been my pleasure to work alongside Karen and Claude for many of the 30 years that I've been working on accessibility. You know, as Chairman Pai said, you know, Karen literally wrote the book on telecommunications access, and it's been our job in industry to find a way to catch up to her vision. And Karen, your work, I believe, has really led to where we are today in the industry, where accessibility is really become a business imperative for companies who want to be credible in the media and technology space. There absolutely needs to be a focus on accessibility, and that's due in large part to your leadership. Claude, I can't say enough about the help that you've been to me over my time at both AOL and at Comcast. You're always willing to serve on a roundtable to meet with our product designers and to meet with me individually and to find a slot for us at the TDI conference when I call you at the last minute, seeing if there's an opportunity to present. Your work, your tireless work to advocate for captioning and video relay services and ASL and so many other services is truly admirable to watch, and I've learned a lot from our time together. This award really is exemplary of the commitment, the deep commitment, and the great people that I've worked with along the way, especially now at Comcast, where we have our executive leadership, we have product designers, product developers, product managers, all working to take our requirements and build them into our products so that we can further empower people with disabilities through inclusive technology. From the talking guide to our X1 adaptive web remote that enables people with ALS to use eye gaze technology to independently control their entertainment experience, to now more recently our new ASL call center where customers can speak directly with agents who themselves are deaf. We're barely scratching the surface. There's so much more to do. And I am looking forward to what the next 10 years will have in store for us as we move through this technology. So I want to accept this award on behalf of my teammates and the broader team at Comcast and those that I've had the pleasure to work with at the WGBH Media Access Group and AOL, because without their support, without the support of my family, none of this is possible. Thank you again to Chairman Pai for this honor. It was a pleasure to host you in our lab to show you some of our technologies. And thank you again, Mr. Weber. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much, Tom, and congratulations again. We are trying to reestablish a connection with Claude. Claude Stout. I don't see that he's back online with us. So I'll give it just a minute or so. Okay, I just got notice that we're trying to reestablish a connection with Claude. His internet service went down briefly, so we'll give it just a few more seconds here because that will sort of conclude our ceremony. So we'll give Claude just another minute or so to see if we can get reestablished here on our video stream. Well, I'll go ahead and give some closing remarks. If we're able to reestablish a connection with Claude, we will certainly get him back on video to conclude his remarks. But I want to just thank everyone for being with us today. I certainly want to thank our winners, Karen Peltz Strauss, Claude Stout, and Tom Wlodkowski. Such a great group of three individuals who have done so much for the disability community over the years throughout their careers. Great award for them to win during this first year of our online only um, uh, uh, conference or award ceremony, but also switching gears a little bit and focusing on individuals who have contributed so much to the disability community. We are very honored and pleased to have them as our winners this year as the Chairman's AAA winners. So I also want to just give a shout out and thank you to some of the folks who have worked internally on this event here at the FCC. So, from our Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau, thanks to Ed Bartholomew, Zach Champ, Diane Burstein, Sherry Dawson, Kayla Hernandez Ujoa, Gerard Williams, DeAndrea Wilson, Chantal Virgil, Mike Snyder, Susie Rosen Singleton, and from the Office of Workplace Diversity, Dewana Terry. So I see that Claude is back online. This is great. I will, Claude, if we have your video up, I will turn the floor back over to you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I'm sorry that the Zoom disconnected. My apologies. Either technology can be incredibly helpful or it can be a curse. So I will go back to talking about our third group of thanks to these particular stakeholders, our sister national organizations of, by, and for the deaf and hard of hearing. That also includes those who have mobility disabilities, as well as the deaf-blind community. I also include academic researchers like Gallaudet, NTID, the Center for Developing Technology, as well as at the University of Maryland. They all have lent invaluable input and expertise, working together to jointly submit over 1,200 filings to the FCC. Without their help, we would not have produced the kinds of results that greatly benefited both the FCC and industry. And so my thanks go to our fellow consumer advocates and researchers. Fourth and last, I extend my deepest thanks to my family, especially my wife, who is currently right next to me, and the organization TDI. And when I say TDI, that includes its members, its board of directors, staff, and key for us, the pro bono legal service entities like Morgan Lewis and Samuelson Glushko Technology, Law, and Policy Clinic at the University of Colorado, Boulder, and Institute for Public Representation at Georgetown University. So my thanks to them for their unwavering support. So I want to conclude with the fact that together we will continue to build a better, more accessible world for all Americans. And I say again, thank you. Thank you so very much for this honor.
Thank you, Claude, and congratulations again. Congratulations to all three of our winners. I want to thank each of you who are viewing this video online with us for joining us today. Please take care, stay safe, and thank you for watching. If I could ask the winners to stay online with us for just a minute or so, we will do a virtual picture that we will post on our website. So this concludes the 2020 Chairman's Awards for Advancement in Accessibility. Thanks, everyone. Be safe.